awake. Her left arm was crushed beneath some component of the lander, once critical, now useless. The dead weight of 5 bodies sat on her chest, her legs, her good arm. That was her own mass, dragged by alien gravity. The fires were almost out. The greasy smoke was thinning, and her sharp, shallow breaths no longer choked her. She was lucid. She was dying. The machine on the dune had still not moved. She yelled again, or tried. Even with the effort, she felt no pain in her arm. It was, she had to concede, a casualty. The wreckage held other casualties too, beside her limb. Garner and Yasada, she could see, enough of them anyway. But the others were dead too, or they would have saved her. Big, unbreakable Todorovic, with his big, unbreakable smile, shoving the component off her arm and pulling her to her feet. Or else she would have heard them. Erickson laughing about how, even if the mission to restore the planet wasn't a complete success, at least they'd still fertilize this patch themselves. But no, they were gone. She tugged on her dead arm painlessly. It didn't budge. Neither did the robot. Help, she wanted to cry. She wanted to scream. And then she did. After all, there was no sense conserving strength. Eventually, she lost consciousness. So this is wind, joked Erickson. The mock naive enthusiasm. And look, there's a cloud. The wall of dust raged towards them. Everyone hold, started Yasada. But the storm hit, and the world spun, and the whining and roaring and snapping and then screaming drowned out everything else. And even if Yasada had finished anyway, it wouldn't have been much of a punchline. And then the lander crashed, and all of them died. All but her. Most of her for the moment. She tried to swallow, and then she opened her eyes, blinked as if to clear sand and dust, even though she didn't have enough tears left for it. A few feet away, a blue jug mocked her. At the top of the dune, the machine mocked her. Below her elbow, her arm mocked her. "I've already escaped," it said. Fresh air was not what she'd imagined. Even in the lee of the wreckage, it seemed to have more silicate than oxygen. She closed her eyes again, tried to swallow again, and got a trickle of something. Blood? She pulled on her dead arm again, and wished she would start hallucinating. She opened her eyes again. The robot looked into them. She blacked out again. Aboard the lander, they packed spares of everything, backups and backups for backups. "So which of us are spare tires?" asked Erickson. Well, now we know, she thought. It was still black even with her eyes open. The fires had died. The stars hid behind ugly acid clouds. The moon was on the wrong side of the world to help. Eventually, the darkness faded just enough to reveal the darker things inside it. The impression of corpses, of a water jug, and of a machine squatting next to her. "Help," she whispered. The machine did not budge. "Please," she begged. The machine did not budge. She attempted every override command she could imagine, most of them obscenities. Then silence. And more silence, except for the whisper of dust piling up against the lander. Then, the whir of the robot's lens twisting open, and a soft blue light covered her face. Then, darkness. "Thanatos," she heard herself whisper in a dream. Consciousness came back quickly this time, or perhaps more slowly. In either case, the sky was still black and empty. "What is your designation?" the machine asked. "What is your origin?" The lens widened and narrowed. "What is your function?" With her good arm, no, euphemisms were a luxury. With her only arm, she pointed at the blue jug. "Please," she whispered, or tried. The lens narrowed a bit more. "Please is not a recognized point of origin or function. Is it your designation?" Its voice mocked her. Why did it have a voice? Or why that voice? And why words at all? "Water," she answered. The robot turned to the jug, extended an arm, retrieved it. "Are you in need of coolant?" "Water." It unscrewed the cap and probed the spout. The whole farce was lit by the robot's blue glow. "Where?" it asked. She pointed to her mouth. It poured. She drank, choked, vomited, choked again, spat. It poured. She drank. "Stop," she gasped. It stopped. She pointed at the dead thing that had been her arm. "Help." "No," the robot answered. "What is your designation? What is your origin? You are not from the tower. You do not match the design of any known Urbanian machine. Are you from Civitas?" It pushed a probing digit against her cheek. "You are of unknown composition. My data indicates that Civitas employed unusual designs. Your power level is negligible." Without waiting for a response, the robot turned its lens to the wreckage of the lander. "This machine has power, and its composition and design are unremarkable. Why are you traveling together? Where are you going?" It touched Yasada. "Why are these ones not operational?" It probed. "Where is its power source?" They were guileless, machines were, except where there was a pattern for guile, a routine, and helpless in their own way, so she waited and gave no answer. It probed deeper, then stopped. "I am Autonomous 8, from the tower. I come in peace with the promise of perfect union." The robot stood. "This one does not answer." It turned away from Yasada and back to her, squatting back down. "You do not answer either." She pointed to her arm again. "Help." "No." It scuttled through the wreck of the lander, probing the remains. Out of her vision it said, "This generator is acceptable. Is it stable?" Silence. "I'm only noting its location for the tower. Your contribution to the greater good will be recognized." The robot returned to her. "What did it do, your companion, when it was operational?" Silence. "Are you still operational?" "Yes," she answered. She pointed at her arm again. "No." The robot squatted down. "You are leaking." It probed the vomit, the blood, the piss. "Your design is inefficient." "Help," she said, "or stop talking." The lens narrowed. "My core logic permits communication when a machine poses no threat or too great a threat." Widened. "There is no threat here." "Then help." Even with the water, her voice was still a croak. Silence. Then, "I cannot excavate your appendage. I can remove it." "Laser," she said, "or plasma. Burn it." "Burn all this metal?" it asked, pointing at the module. She shook her head. "The appendage. Burn it, or I'll leak more." So it burned, and again, merciful unconsciousness. Flames groped around the lander as a blade of shielding. Todorovic grinned. Yasada eyed the controls, made tiny adjustments. Benziger cracked his knuckles in sequence, one-handed, just stretching and tightening his fingers. Pop, pop, pop. If a rivet shook loose, they wouldn't even notice. Pop, pop. Are you praying, McGilvin? Laughed Erickson. She smiled. Just talking. Pop